If it's books, I would have to say anywhere from 5 to 15.
You said between 12 and 15?
5 to 15.
5 to 15.
Some of these books, some of those books, I'm just, if I could just push them out, then I'll push them out.
Yeah, man, 15 sounds good because like when I think of books, I automatically think that you're selling books for shipping plus $5, or maybe less, or maybe even less than that.
If I have a book price like lower than $5, it'll be cheaper than like the person who's selling it the cheapest, and then I'll price it to where they have to pay for shipping, so that way my profit out of that dollar that I spend might be about like $4 or $5 or $3, and then I get to use that money and just find something else.
Yep. That's how you do it, man. There's nothing wrong with selling lower average sales items, low end items, bronzes. Nothing wrong with selling some bronzes, man. That's what I've been doing with clothes all day. It's about value. I'm a firm believer in that. But hey, Scott, well, welcome to the group, man. I sell clothes, but I like to come around for all the calls because they're always all interesting. So I'll be seeing you around, bro.
All right, good evening, everyone. Thanks for coming to the Money Not Book Club call. Tonight, we're continuing the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, going over the 7 Habits overview, the last part of part 1. As always, any questions, comments, thoughts, connections, anything, feel free to jump in. Either live, you can raise your hand. You can also drop comments in the chat. All right, before we get into it, does anybody have anything they want to start with?
Brian, I got some. Sorry if it's off schedule, but the other day you took a picture and you listed 11 items on eBay. What your last click picture I seen?
Right.
Why was it 11, and why wasn't it more than that?
Because I switched to shoes about 6 weeks ago. And so I'm actively selling through my clothes, which is still probably 85% of my store. And the 11 listed are all shoes. And I started at 10 for July. I'm doing 11, August 12. And so I'm transitioning out of clothes into shoes. I mean, it's a different game, like the cost of goods and everything's a little different. So I don't want to try to juice it too quick.
Okay. I know it's book call. I just wanted to chat with you real quick and just say that I appreciate you spending the time on the book call. I've been listening to all the book calls lately. I'm live. I just been in the background chilling, doing work. So I appreciate you, dog.
All right, hey, I appreciate it, Kevin. If you have anything you want to add, feel free to jump in. All right. Okay, so here I'm gonna throw the question in the chat, and we can talk about it. All right, so these are just things I kind of thought of. So like at the beginning of this chapter, he talks about habits defined. And so I figured it might be interesting to talk about like, what is his definition of a habit? And how does that differ, if it does differ, because we just finished Atomic Habits by James Clear, and obviously that was all about habits. So I was wondering if anybody noticed any differences, or how it might relate. And I'm going to practice patience, an old teacher skill, and let a question set for a little bit before I jump into weigh in. So anybody feel free to tackle that. I'll drink my mango green tea. By the way, today's interesting fact of the day is it's 7-Eleven, and today it's free Slurpee day at 7-Eleven. So if you like Slurpee, get your free Slurpee on.
I was wondering what that comment meant in your post. So I didn't read Atomic Habits yet. I actually bought the book, but I haven't read it yet. So I can't speak to how it differs. But a habit is something that you do almost unconsciously. Like, you're unconsciously competent about doing whatever that is on a regular basis.
Right. Yeah, I would agree with that. There's a level of automaticity, if that's such a word, where your thinking part of your brain is freed up, because like the neural pathway through repetitions, it's you don't have to think about it. And I think that's a good, we can piggyback off that. So Covey defines it as a habit is the intersection of knowledge, skill, and desire. So you've got to have the knowledge. And I was thinking about our group, right? Like the calls. So the knowledge, Tech gives the knowledge. Chris reinforces it. A lot of people also give knowledge. The skill is applying the knowledge, right? Put it into practice. And the third part is desire. And when I thought back to Atomic Habits with James Clear, he differentiated the desire, the motivation part. Like he would say, and I would tend to agree, that motivation or desire, like you can't just lean on that because it's limited. We only have so much of that in us. And I think also Gary Keller in The One Thing talks about this a lot when he talks about habit formation and how on average it takes 66 days to form a habit, varying depending on the difficulty of the habit. And because we only have so much mental willpower, motivation, typically he only recommends doing one habit at a time until that habit is fully formed. So I just thought it was kind of interesting that Covey here talks about desire, but I do think there's something to it, right? Like you can have the knowledge, because we think about in the group how many people struggle with their listing habit. You can have the knowledge, you get the knowledge, you develop the skills, but that desire, that motivation has to come from you. Maybe that's the why. And I wonder, like, how many people that are struggling to develop their habits, like which component is missing? And it seems like the one most likely would be the desire part. But, kind of going back to Atomic Habits a little bit, the beauty of a habit, kind of like what Sarah said, is once you form it, it doesn't take much motivation. It just becomes part of you. Like, to me, my whole day is a habit loop. And Kevin's right. I'm only listing 11 to, I was up to 50 with clothing, and it is less, but that habit is still there. And it's just one big habit stoop. So it doesn't take motivation anymore. Like I don't have to like, ooh, all right, I'm gonna get up, I'm gonna get 11 shoes listed. Like it's just a given to me that that's just what's gonna happen. So I don't know. Does anybody else have any thoughts on habits? Let me see, Mimi, we're on part 1. Yeah, I guess it would be chapter 2. It's not, I'm looking at my book. I don't know if it labels it chapter 2, but it would be chapter 2, or the chapter is the 7 habits overview, an overview. Kim says bad habits don't need any of those traits though. So let's talk about that. You wanna add on to that, Kim? So if you all right, so a bad habit is a habit, right? So you would, I don't know. I haven't thought about looking at the inverse. A bad habit. A bad habit is still something you do, like what Sarah would say, automatically. Some people are in the habit of procrastinating.
I was
So yeah, go ahead.
I was listening to audio book. My understanding is he's saying that whatever you do, it needs to come within. Even to form habit, you have to have that hunger and that desire, like to be in business or whatever thing you want to do. So if you have that, it will be easier the rest.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. I would think your why is the desire, right? But I think when you think about habits, like you have your why, but after a while, it's almost like in the back of, at least for me, it's like in the back of the brain, the why. And going back to Kim, like if you think about procrastinating, there's a desire, a want to procrastinate. Like that's serving a need, some type of need. And I'm not a therapist, so I don't know, but you're getting something out of that procrastination, it's serving some purpose. And I don't know what that would be. And I know Chris has talked about this a lot and tried to figure it out. The whole thing about this group is efficiency, and to get your listings done, and then you have time for the rest of your day, or you have time to get more listings up. So if you procrastinate, that habit of procrastination, then you're extending your work day. And here I'm gonna bounce back to Gary Keller and the one thing, right? Like you're kind of muddling your personal life and your work life, and neither one are maximized. Like whatever you're watching on TV while you're listing, you're not maximizing that experience, and your listings probably aren't maximized either. So I don't know. I think it would be better to focus on the listing, the working part, get that done, and then then you can be fully present for whatever else you're going to do, with whether it's family or friends or TV or whatever. Yeah, it is a choice, Kim. And I guess the question is, like, sometimes are those choices conscious or subconscious? Like, I mean, that's the thing with a habit. You don't even think about it at a certain point. So with a bad habit, oftentimes you, and James Clear talks about this, that you kind of lose, you lose awareness of why you're doing it. But it does serve some purpose, even if it's kind of destructive. All right. Yeah,
Brian,
Sarah?
isn't that what this is about? Is kind of like that self-mastery, because it's so easy to get into a bad habit. So, just kind of like whether it's a diet or whether it's listing, you miss a day. Well, you could go down the path of, all right, well, my whole week is messed up now. So I guess I could take it easy tomorrow. It gets harder to get back in that habit. But I think it's, the 7 habits are about self-mastery. And really, I think a lot of us don't know what our why is. We think we do based on what other people want. We think we want that too, but we haven't really figured out our own why. I think that's why some of these things, or we think we're not either good enough or smart enough or fast enough or whatever it is. Then you revert to those bad habits. I guess that's kind of what I see from this.
Yeah, I could see that. Like, and that's why, like James Clear would say, and I would agree, that when you're trying to develop a habit, make it where it's easy. He talks about, for example, if you want to start a running habit, like the first week is it's as simple as environment change. Put your shoes out, get your running gear out, and maybe for the first week, all you do is put your shoes on and you walk out the door. Like you want to start building those wins, and then you begin to increase upon that. It's developing the habits, the key, and then later you can increase it. And I would say that's the right way to go with the listing habit too, right? Like if you set a listing habit, you're brand new to the group and say, hey, I'm gonna list 50 a day. And you don't have the skills down, you don't have the knowledge down. You've got the desire down, right? You definitely got the motivation down, but that's going to lead to bad results. And then that can spiral like